Let me bring in our second newsmaker now, Kanwal Sibal. He's former Indian ambassador to France, Russia, Egypt, Turkey. Ambassador Sibal, India has expressed growing concern over targeted violence against minorities in Bangladesh. Should New Delhi now perhaps recalibrate its engagement with the Yunus administration, or should we continue to be circumspect and wait and watch as we have been doing so far?
I think we have to wait and watch. The situation is difficult. We have to ensure that it does not go out of hand for us, geopolitically speaking. Bangladesh is moving very close to Pakistan. They're giving a lot of space to the ISI, to the Pakistan military. And down the road, this can cause problems to us because in the past, insurgents have been sheltered by Bangladesh. And I've been involved in discussions on this matter with the Bangladesh side when the BNP government was in power. I was Foreign Secretary, so I have a little idea about what the problems are. On the other hand, apart from, of course, expressing our deep concern at what is happening, because there will inevitably be repercussions on our bilateral ties, because this is a very sensitive subject. As it is, the population of Hindus in Bangladesh has dwindled over the years. And this happens only when there is insecurity, when they don't feel totally comfortable in their environment. They leave the country and come to India. Now, if this kind of a thing goes on, as well it could, then there'll be a lot of pressure on the Hindu community, and we may see more migration, more incidents of this kind. Now, the thing is that the manner in which Sheikh Hasina's government was ousted through street power by mobilization of hostile anti-Indian elements, Jamaat-e-Islami and others. So there is a problem on the ground. And Yunus is not in a position, frankly, to control this. Whatever his personal inclinations and ideology or whatever else which is suspect, on top of that, he's not an administrator. He's just been parachuted there by the West to take control over Bangladesh because he was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and Clinton and others have been favoring him, and therefore they thought that he could be a good man for them. When I say they, I mean the United States and the West in general. So his ineptitude is showing, and he's defending himself constantly by denying that there are problems on the ground. And that also erodes his credibility.
Okay. Ambassador Sibal, if you heard what the former education minister had to say on my show, he went on to say that this is perhaps an attempt at instigation by the current regime, because they are looking for scapegoat, trying to hide their own failures, and that scapegoat could be the entire, and that's the reason why this entire anti-India and anti-minority sentiment is being fanned.
Yes, I think there is some truth in that. And Pakistan on the sidelines will stoke even more sentiments of this kind and anti-Indian feelings in the country, because they will gain from this. And maybe there's some other powers also who would be interested in making sure that Bangladesh remains a problem for us. After all, why was Sheikh Hasina not only removed, but there is actually no cognizance being taken by those who put Yunus in power of what is happening to the minorities in Bangladesh. There's no word of condemnation. Hadi was killed, and then the UN Human Rights Commission and the Western embassies in Dhaka issue a lot of statements. But when it comes to protection of minorities and all, there's complete silence. So one can see what are the forces at work. After all, India had a hand in the creation of Bangladesh against the wishes of certain countries. And therefore, they would be interested in some ways to make sure that the Bangladesh does not come into the Indian orbit again, because they may have their own geopolitical interests and keep us under pressure. So there is a problem on the ground. Now, the point is that they have now banned the Awami League from participating in the elections in February. So a large percentage of the population is actually being disenfranchised electorally. And since I'm sure the Hindus were in the large majority supporting the Awami League, so they have also become targets of these hostile elements, these Islamic elements who are running the roost in Bangladesh currently. The short point is when the whole country got destabilized as a result of street rioting and went out of control, it will be very difficult for the Bangladesh government to restore law and order unless the military comes in. They take over power in the country and impose martial law, do something like that to control this. But that is not happening. Now, I think the elections are going to unleash even more violence in the country, and this will make the Hindu minority even more vulnerable, I'm afraid.
Okay. My last question to you before I let you go, Ambassador. What implications do you see for India-Bangladesh ties if Dhaka fails to control this visible sectarian drift?
It's very bad, both for Bangladesh and for India, because we want a stable and friendly Bangladesh. We invested enormous amounts of aid and development assistance and power and everything else that we did in terms of making sure that Bangladesh remained a friendly country. Now that whole thing is being reversed, to my mind, quite foolishly, because at the end of the day, Bangladesh cannot antagonize and should not antagonize India, and whatever has been achieved on the ground must be preserved. But there is lawlessness, and the Islamic elements have come to the fore. They, in fact, are actually denying the liberation movement as such. They're calling it. They're going against that. They're burning all the symbols of the liberation movement, and they're making friends with the country and the armed forces of Pakistan, which were responsible for the genocide in Bangladesh. So there's a bigger problem in Bangladesh, and as part of that problem, the Hindu minority will suffer, and India-Bangladesh relations will suffer unless at some stage there is reckoning in Bangladesh of the political class and everybody that they have to maintain good ties with India. Now, BNP fellow Tariq Rahman has come back. In the past, as you know, he had been involved in gun running in Bangladesh in order to supply arms to the insurgents and this and that. And the BNP doesn't have a good record. On the other hand, BNP is a political force on the ground. And if in the elections they manage to win power, then they may be interested in stabilizing the situation and reach out to India to see if relationship can be put back on an even keel. This will be our hope.
All right, Ambassador Sibal, always a pleasure listening to you and getting your perspective. Thank you so much for joining us.